Good morning, everyone, and hello. It is Fred Staab and Les Jackson. Les, welcome to Cruise Control, another
And
episode.
thank you, sir. Good to see you as always. And yes, we have no shortage of interesting things to talk about.
I know the first one's kind of hard, though. There's a report this week that Nissan, we know they're in trouble. We know the
Yeah.
CEO has cut his salary. We know there's been 9,000 layoffs. But now there's a report that says, from a couple of insiders, they say Nissan's got 12 to 14 months left.
I yeah, I just really hate hearing that. We're going to talk about it. We're going to see if we can figure out how we can help them. Like you and
Oh,
I,
okay.
I have
Start
$40
sending
in my
in.
wallet.
Send that money in. Yeah.
Yeah, and BMW puts self-driverless cars to real-world use. They've been experimenting with driverless cars for a long, long time. I got in one almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, they definitely have, and you might think, well, I'm gonna leave it as a tease, because it's not the way you think they're being used as driverless cars, or in the place you think they're being used as driverless cars. Let's
Right.
leave it at that, and we'll just tease it there. And then we're going to talk about the Subaru WRX pricing for 2025. And they've got some new models. The base model goes away of this, but we'll tell you what they have in store and all the different levels. And I tell you what, I like that model with the great seats. Look at those seats,
Yeah,
Recaro
I
seats.
do too, but I would insist on putting a Hans device in it
Yeah, and
because
you don't
that's
want
really gonna, yeah,
with those bolsters that could hurt men in
incredible.
a certain place, I would say.
Yes, yes, you need to be careful about how tight your clothing is.
Yes.
And by the way, we have a talking tech. Hey, GM did or is getting rid of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto.
Right.
Shame on you.
Controversial.
Um, that's right. But now one company says it can add it back. Now this is interesting.
Yeah, it's
We'll cover that.
always not to get my American flag out and wave it around, but I will say this. That is the great thing. If somebody does something and company says, "Oh, we're not going to build that anymore,"
Yep,
somebody comes up with a way around it, don't they? Comes up with a product.
that is true. There's sometimes it doesn't work very well, but the fact
Yeah.
is there's something.
Yeah. And Les, I know Christmas is coming up, so I thought you might like one of these 33
I would.
Stradales.
I would. Would you put that in writing, please?
For a diecast model, sure.
It's a slick car.
Yeah. Alpha's had some great vehicles that we not never get over here, and I don't know if we're getting this one, but they're doing some dynamic testing. I liked how they put that dynamic testing of this vehicle.
That
So
means fast driving.
fast driving. So that's just some of what you'll see in hour one, and then this is a real. This is like a total talking tech. So Mercedes is looking at what life will be like and what you will be driving uh, in 2040 or beyond. So we'll talk about that. They're going to look at.
I love this stuff. They're getting more and more accurate. Than the old days, back when we were kids, they used to say, well, what's it going to be like in 25 years? And they were way off.
Although some were right. Look at Star Trek with communicators.
Well, Star Trek, yes. Except you're not going to beam anybody up.
Not yet, anyway. But I tell you what, we're going to get ready for the show. So stay tuned. We will be right back.
This is Cruise Control. Your on-air automotive magazine with co-hosts Fred Staab and Les Jackson. Everything you need to know about new and used cars. Industry news. We'll fix or repair your car on the air. Fasten your seatbelts and let us take the wheel. Now, your ride is about to begin. Because you're on Cruise Control. Cruise Control. Cruise Control.
And welcome to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. It's that time again. We take you on a ride around the automotive industry. A lot to get to. You might think, well, you know, it's getting near the end of the year, not much going on. Well, you would be wrong. And Les Jackson is joining me, as he always does, and going to talk about all these stories, Les. And the first one we have is not a great story. We hope it doesn't come true, but, you know, things are not looking that great at Nissan, are they?
No, they're not. We've talked about this a little bit in previous shows, and they've got a lot of layoffs. And now there's an insider report that says the brand has only a year or so left. So we hope we can shed a little bit of optimism on this, but we'll tell you what's going on.
Yeah, we sure will, and we wish them well, but we'll tell you what's going on and who might come in to save the company. And then over at BMW, they're going driverless, but it's not exactly what you think when we say driverless, or in the location that you would think. So we'll talk about this. It's
right.
a pretty cool concept when it comes to BMW, and i7 is one of the models that is doing this.
Clever stuff. And speaking of clever, talking tech, sort of talking tech, GM, as we've said, has gotten rid of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto on some of its EVs. Now, already, there's a company that says it can add it back, which is, I love this.
Yeah,
I just love it.
It's pretty amazing, isn't it, that they can do that, and we'll talk about it, and it might be something that you would like to have done to your vehicle. It's on Ultium vehicles, the ones that are battery powered and some of the higher end ones. So we'll talk about that.
Right.
And then over to Subaru, they have the new pricing for the WRX and a couple of different changes in models and things like that. We'll give you all the details. Always a fun car to drive. I always look forward to driving one of them when I get it scheduled. How about you?
They are, they're a hoot. and the police love to give you tickets in them.
Yep.
But speaking of tickets, where I want to get a ticket is the Alfa Romeo is dynamically testing the Stradale 33 supercar. First, it's beautiful. Second, it's an Alfa. Everybody's got to own an Alfa once in their lives. And third, it goes really, really fast.
Yeah, it certainly does. And when we come back, we are going to jump right into that Nissan story because it's big news, affects a lot of people, and we want to bring you up to date on that. So stay tuned to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine with Fred Staab and Les Jackson. We'll be right back. You know, Les, it would be terrible if Nissan went away. I mean, they are one of the last full-line manufacturers of vehicles. They have everything from the Versa on up. And, of course, they have the Nissan Z, which is an incredible vehicle that they brought that back. I think that's wonderful. And, you know, they've launched some new product, too. They have the Kicks as well. They just brought that out, all new model, all-wheel drive. Seems like it could be a big seller because it's a small crossover. They brought out the Murano.
And they've got a Rogue, a 2026 Rogue plug-in hybrid in the pipeline.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Also, they're good cars. That's what I don't get.
Yeah. they were one of the first manufacturers to go heavily into CVT transmissions. A lot of people didn't like that because it was a different.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's what's causing this problem. It
hasn't been a problem for them.
The other problem no one's mentioning yet is how closely Mitsubishi has aligned with them, and what does that mean for Mitsubishi as well. And, once again, I mean, you and I talk about these things, and sometimes we get comments like, oh, you guys are just clickbaiting or something like that. But really, a lot of these things come from the Wall Street Journal and other major media outlets, and it's bad news. It's bad news. Volkswagen's another one having its troubles around. We're going to examine that in the second hour. So
you would think, in this booming automotive economy that we're currently in, we're back, even after the COVID years, we're back up to about 16 million new vehicles sold a year. You'd think everybody would be fine.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of them are struggling with, electrification, or they thought everyone was going all electric. That's changing back.
A lot of investment.
You need to be super flexible. And we're going to do a story about self-driving cars from BMW. That's one of the things I think a victim of the switch over to electricity. It's hard to do both of these things. It's like build what you're building now. People want big trucks. Keep building those, but also make electric cars that go 500 miles and charge up in 5 minutes. And, can they drive themselves too?
10.
Yeah.
You take it, Mr. Jackson. We'll be right back.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control. This is your on-air automotive magazine, and well, we just have so much to talk about today. We've just been, lamenting. I hate to say that word. The goings on and the problems with Nissan. We certainly don't want them to go away.
No.
I think that they would just really need a big booster shot.
Well, this comes to us from the Financial Times. 2 unnamed Nissan executives said the company has 12 to 14 months to survive. And one of them's quoted saying, this is going to be tough, and in the end, we need Japan and the U.S. to be generating cash. Now, sales are down at Nissan for a long time. I'm not sure why. I mean, some of their models were a little long in the tooth. The biggest one that comes to mind is the Frontier. They left that live for so long. They eventually redid it, and I think it's been a successful relaunch of that. They have a number of models coming up. The Nissan Kicks, that has really been redone in many ways. It now has all-wheel drive as an option, completely restyled. They have a new face to Nissan vehicles. We also saw that with the Murano, which has come out. And, that I think is a nice redo of that vehicle. Another vehicle that was kind of long in the tooth, but they got that taken care of. They have the Nissan Z, which is so rare. I have not seen one.
I never see them. Yeah. And we have potholes.
We have potholes, but so they have a lot of product coming out and in the pipeline, but they've had some big failures. I mean, they're getting out of the full-size pickup truck competition. They spent a lot of money to get into that. That's a big problem for them. Why do you think it is? I mean, what do you think's going on?
Well, I think it's that and just some not bad product, but kind of the wrong products at the wrong time. Even though they're a full line manufacturer, they got rid of the Maxima.
Yeah.
Which was a great sedan.
Oddly, it's still on their press website, but it's as a 2023 model.
Yeah.
But their Rogue does well, as you were alluding to earlier. They're going to have a plug-in hybrid of that. That should sell well. Their Pathfinder is a relatively new product. That should be selling well. So they're
Now,
playing in all the fields. They should.
there is reason for optimism here.
Okay.
They recently signed a partnership with Honda for long-term EV development.
Okay.
And Renault is considering selling a portion of its shares to Honda. So if that happens, then I would think Nissan would be in good shape, or at least in good enough shape to keep the operations going. Do the right marketing with the right product. It's always about product. And get out of this funk.
Yeah. Well, I also think the it's all about product mix. I mean, you look at what Stellantis did. They had the wrong products, at the wrong prices. Yeah. They had way expensive prices. I think we've proven now that people don't really want to spend $80,000. The vast majority of them don't want to. For a vehicle, but Nissan has a lot of choices. They still make the least expensive vehicle out there, the Versa, which I believe, they are full line manufacturers. So it's not a problem where they're like, oh, we'd love to sell you a model like that, but we don't have it. They're one of the few full line manufacturers. I think Kia and Hyundai and Nissan and Toyota are some of the few that still have that. But what happens to Mitsubishi? Mitsubishi is even looking at selling its shares. But remember, Mitsubishi is tightly aligned with Nissan. So what happens to Mitsubishi?
Yeah, what happens to them? I don't know. But I hope they say that they're going to save but with the cutting jobs and all these other things going on, they're going to save about $3 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty soon we're talking about real money.
Yeah.
And it'll trying to restructure itself. So I think if they get these deals, the partnerships, and they get good management, they can pull this out.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break on Cruise Control, so stay tuned. We'll be right back. BMW self-driving. Stay tuned. Do you remember not that long ago, we would talk on every show about self-driving vehicles, right, Les?
Oh, yeah.
The shine kind of went off that, didn't it?
Well, yeah. We had COVID. We had the chip shortage. We had electrification, and all of these things took over. Some a little bit too much too soon.
Yep.
And people's curiosity about autonomous vehicles kind of waned, and an awful lot of people are just afraid of them. They're afraid of the existing driver assist technologies. I hear this all the time when I'm with people.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a whole scenario going on right now with NHTSA. NHTSA has said by 2029, all vehicles should have emergency braking as standard. And the Alliance for Auto Manufacturing is pushing back on that. I have had some press cars that have done weird things with emergency braking. For example, I have a busy street. I was backing out, and, there's cars coming up and down the street, but you wait for them to clear, and it would see a car, and it, coming down, and as if I wasn't going to brake, it took over and slams on the brakes and starts flashing lights and stuff like that. I was like, okay,
and
I got it.
They slam on the brakes hard.
Yes.
I have that happen all the time.
Mm-hmm.
and it's looking at it's looking 100 feet in either direction.
Right.
Um, and you figure, well, in 100 feet, I know I can see it coming.
Yeah, and I'm on it.
Yeah, but I think the vehicle should have that because most people are not always paying attention.
Yeah, well, I've read comments like that too. People saying, "Well, I'll just take care of it myself, and that's
No.
fine." But when you're sipping coffee and scrolling through the infotainment system, and traffic comes to a
Yeah.
stop, and you don't, that can be a problem, right?
And I just hear it from friends, friends that know me and have been in, hundreds, thousands of test cars. And they say, I just don't trust it. Oh,
Yeah.
really? Well, I don't trust you. The vehicle is much smarter, faster than you are.
So we're going to put that. Here we go.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Fred Staab and Les Jackson. We're going to talk about self-driving cars. It's something we haven't talked about in that long of a while. Of course, the big prediction was these were going to be out there and it was going to be a common thing. And then it kind of faded away. COVID, whatever, for electrification, economy, whatever. There's a lot of reasons for it. But BMW has made a big step towards self-driving cars, but it might not be what you're thinking. So right now, in their assembly plants, these cars drive themselves off the assembly line themselves and will drive to an area where they'll be parked or checked out. And they drive, it's about 0.6 miles from one of the two assembly halls through a short test course, finishing to the finishing area at the plant. How is that?
Wow.
So they're just driving in, and it's an area there's robots, there's workers, there's machinery, new cars. It's a tight space, but it can do this on its own. That's pretty good, isn't it?
Exactly. There's infrastructure sensors that the cars talk to, and it works fine. And I love this. I love it because it's essentially robotics technology, and it's why bother having somebody jump in and move it? By the way, that's about 3,000 feet.
Well, here's the thing. They've built a microcosm of what you would need to build if you wanted truly self-driving cars to do that. They built a V2X network, but it's very controlled. It's very controlled. Everything is marked out for them, and it shows that it works. Once again, the problem is infrastructure. Sort of like electric cars. They charge up great. I just charged one with a 400-volt charger, and it worked great, and got almost a full charge in less than an hour, but you can't find them everywhere. So you can't.
That's right. That's the flaw in the system. You have to search for them. By the way, I love the name of the assembly plant that this is in. It's the Dingolfing plant.
Yes. Which is a town in Germany, I believe, right?
It's a town. Dingolfing is a town in Germany. Well, it's probably a pretty big town.
This is the I-7 that is driving itself. It's a large nice
vehicle. Car.
Yeah. I just think it's cool. I think we'll see more of this. I mean, think if you could recreate this small ecosphere in a parking garage, so you get out of your car, then it goes and finds a parking space, and then when you're ready to come back, you just open up your app.
Call it.
Yeah, and
call it. Yep.
And it comes back.
And it slowly comes back.
Could that be what we'll see first for self-driving cars, as opposed to, just cars that drive
Right.
around on their own? I don't know. I mean, I'd like to hear what our audience thinks. Drop us a comment, because it seems like this has always been that it's going to come up little by little by little. It's not going to be completely self-driving, and I think some of those predictions were a little bit over the top.
I think there will be a day when they are self-driving, but that day is a long time.
Yeah. I mean, of course, there are the cabs in California, the Waymo cabs that are people. I mean, I read stories all the time where they take one to the airport or whatever, but I think that's still, for it to be common is still years in the future.
And imagine that in eastern weather with snow and rain and fog and tricky.
Tricky. All right. Well, but hats off to BMW for doing this. Let's talk about something you can get right now, and you will have to drive it yourself, but you'll probably like driving it yourself. The Subaru 2025 WRX. Number of new things here. The new Subaru WRX is the most advanced WRX ever, with drive mode select and electronically controlled dampers tuned by Subaru Technica International. Standard eyesight driver assist technology and driver-focused distraction mitigation on all trim levels. I don't know. I don't know if this will be a big seller for WRXs, but the new Galaxy Purple color option is available. You ever see a purple WRX? I don't know.
Well, most of the ones I've seen have been
blue.
That dark blue,
Yeah.
which this looks similar to.
Yes.
So it looks like it belongs there.
Yes, it does look like it belongs there. 271 horsepower, 2.4-liter turbocharged boxer engine, which is a great thing. And for 2025, the base model's discontinued, so that means the starting price and starting level will be the WRX Premium, which starts at $35,750. So Premium, $35,750, offers 18-inch alloy wheels with dark gray finish and 245/40 R18 summer performance tires, heated front seats and exterior mirrors, windshield wiper deicer, aluminum alloy pedal covers, LED fog lights, and more. And there's an optional package for the premium level of 11-speaker Harman Kardon stereo system with 504 watts and a power moonroof for an additional $1,800, and more. So that those two things are going to add bring the price up to $37,100.
If you think about it, that's really not a bad price for all the gadgets.
No, it's not, and it is a fun car to drive for sure. Next up, Les, is the Subaru WRX Limited. It has all the premium features, plus it adds that system, that Harman Kardon system standard. Subaru Starlink 11.6-inch multimedia navigation system. This is the vertical system that's in most of the Subarus now, at least the ones that are one level up on the lineup. It's a great system. Power moonroof, ultra suede and leather trimmed upholstery, and body color side mirrors. Now you're getting up into some big change. $40,130 for a 6-speed manual transmission, and $41,680 for the ones equipped with the SPT, which is their paddle shifted transmission. And then you keep going. WRX TX comes equipped with high performance Brembo braking, 6-piston front and 2-piston rear calipers. And it goes on. Grippy Recaro seats. Grippy.
That's right. These get a little bit too harsh for everyday driving.
Those
You
are
have to
nice
think-
seats, but I don't
Oh,
know.
they're great.
Every day you might get stuck in them with the Ultra Suede.
Yeah,
They're grippy.
Very. Yeah, I mean, when you buy something like that, you have to realize you are driving it every day, and you may get tired of it. Now, of course, if you have another vehicle, who cares?
Right.
But these are spectacular to drive if you've ever taken them on a track.
And then one more, the WRX GT
Yeah.
tops out at $45,705 with delivery $46,875. So there you have it. Pricing on the 2025 Subaru WRX lineup. When we come back, we're going to talk more about some tech. So, Les, you've become a fan of Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, haven't you?
Absolutely. It's you sort of once you have it, you sort of don't know what you did without it.
Yeah, I agree, and it's popular with everyone. They like the interface because it's the same interface. You and I would be in and out of a lot of press cars, and in the early days of navigation, everyone had a different way of saying everything. Hard to use, or they'd go different routes. It was really a hard time. It was just amazing. It was okay. Just to tell you how long we've been doing this, they were based on DVDs.
Oh yes. Well, the first one I ever tested was in the late '90s in the Oldsmobile. It was called Guide Star, black and white screen.
Yep.
And like 6 CDs for the East Coast.
And it had a changer, right? You didn't have to change it out. Like, oh, I'm going into New Jersey. I have to pop another disc in.
Right. It had a changer in the trunk. And it was kind of like it was just bolted onto the dash. It wasn't integrated. But it was magic.
Yeah.
You thought, well, this can't be happening. It does. This actually knows where I am.
Yeah. And then through the years, there were some bad ones. I remember one in a GM car that was terrible. It looked like, those original video games with the jagged graphics and all that.
Yeah. And there was a Mercedes.
Here we go. We're coming in.
Never could figure out. And
you bring us in, Les.
I'll come in.
Cruise Control.
Hey, welcome back to Cruise Control. And if you're listening to us and not necessarily watching us on your Android Auto in your car, I hope it's not a GM car.
You might be out of luck. You might be out of luck.
Yeah. How come I can't pair my phone? Well, because
this is an interesting story we've been following on Cruise Control for a while. Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, 2 apps, free apps that do a ton of things. They're basically called screen mirroring. And so you can say, oh, I'm going to go someplace to a restaurant. I can sit there on my phone. I can download them from my computer, the directions. Goes into my phone. And now it's in my phone, and I can link my phone to my car, and now I have everything that I had on my computer in my phone, and I go there to the directions the same way I'm used to, the same, generated voice I'm used to, and it's great as opposed to using the in-car system. And it's interesting. You bought a new car, Les. It still has its own in-car system, but it also has Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, right?
That's right. You say you have the best of both worlds there.
You can use what you want.
Either.
You have choices. Now, GM decided for some of their Ultium cars, their newer premium EVs, that they said, you know what? We're going to do away with Android Auto. We're going to do away with Apple CarPlay. They said it's because of distraction. It's too distracting. We're going to come up with our own plan. The theory there was that they were going to use this as a way to charge people for navigation, and that you'd say, well, if you have a GM car, you have to use our plan, and it's X amount each month, right? So what to do? Because many people have said they won't buy a GM car if they don't have Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. It's that important, and frankly, they should listen and just keep it in there. It'd be much easier. This comes from 9 to 5 Google. So this was announced about March of last year that GM would be doing away with these apps little by little. Now, a company called White Automotive and Media Services has come up with a kit that works on all the vehicles that have lost Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, including Chevy Blazer, Equinox EV, Silverado EV. It connects into both the main display and the instrument cluster for navigation. It's fully integrated and offers wired and wireless CarPlay and Android Auto without compromising any existing feature or functionality. And it shows menu integration as well as instrumentation cluster, even full Apple Maps integration in the instrument cluster, and turn-by-turn navigation instructions in the HUD if equipped. So it's pretty slick that they can do this.
It is. What do you suppose it will cost?
I don't have that information, and the problem is, so far, only one dealer in Plymouth, Michigan is capable of doing this. That will expand. They say this is not something that they recommend someone at home doing. Probably you or I could do it, but they recommend that they do this in a way so you don't brick your car. It's like, no, I only have Apple CarPlay. I don't even have a speedometer.
I can picture Jeremy, Clarkson with a hammer and a soldering iron.
I've ruined it.
Trying to put it in.
Yeah. Interesting. There's always a way around stuff, isn't it? There's always a way around stuff, and I think this is not the only one, because my solution would be like, you buy that $100,000 electric car, and then you go to Amazon and buy one of those $50 Android Auto screens and put it on a suction cup on your window. Although apparently they work pretty well. I'm just saying it's probably not what you want to do in your brand new electric vehicle.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to have to, buy yourself a Garmin, out of Walmart, and with a long wire, and
suction
USB
cup mount,
plug it in, and
yeah.
I mean, come on, we're past that.
Well, if you pay $100,000, I think if you pay $100,000, you should kind of get what you want on the car.
I kind of feel that way.
Yeah.
I don't want good news, bad news. I want good news.
So far, they're sticking to it, GM, that they're going to get rid of it. I think it's going to come back as a big mistake.
I think so.
And maybe this White Automotive and Media Services realizes that that's going to happen, and they'll say, and guess what? We have a fix for it. If you buy our company for $10 billion, you can just install it. I don't know. Well, we'll see.
I just don't see how the software for this costs the car companies that much money.
Well, what it was, I believe, they were worried that Apple or Google would take over the dash of the car and would run the operating system, and that would be a problem for them, that they would lose control. Probably they would lose control of these subscription things. Everyone is still pushing that model to pay for these things monthly. It's not going well. People don't like it, and I think that might be part of it. But who knows? They acted really concerned. I don't think it's that distracting myself, Android Auto or Apple CarPlay.
Well, I don't
used them
think so
both.
either. But if I object, you and I both object to subscriptions.
Yeah.
GM wants to do it. Mazda does it. Kia does it for a couple of little niceties. Hyundai and BMW. I just no. I'm not going to pay you. I've given you money for your car, and I'm not going to pay you more to use some feature.
Yeah.
It's just
No. Well, they
no.
say it's especially bad if the button's there. So let's say you had heated seats and they work fine, and now they take it away from you and say, oh, by the way, that's 120 a year, and the button is there. They say it's the worst thing when it is actually a physical control.
Yeah.
That's the electronic version of the blank off plate where there's no switch there. It's just, I hate blank off plates. I can't stand them.
Oh, I used to bristle at them in the old days. Friends would buy a car and they'd have a blank off plate because they didn't want to spend $10 more in options on a radio.
Yeah.
And the plate would say radio.
Buy a radio, cheapo.
Yeah, man.
Well, while we're on Android Auto, Android Auto 13.3 has an update coming along where it's going to aggregate all of your local radio stations. So right now you can go out and have different apps for local radios if they have it. And now they're going to kind of it's almost like Sirius XM radio, where they're going to have like adult hits and culture and talk and documentary, and so it's interesting to see what Google's coming up with this and how it will all shape out. But that's supposedly coming in Android Auto 13.3.
Do you think this is direct competition for Sirius XM? Because they're losing a lot of business.
Yes, and while we're on that, I have to bring up this story because that's a great segue. Now, have you ever gone to try to cancel like cable television back in the day when people watch cable television? And it's like, you need to go to the retention department. Yeah, but I just want to cancel my account. Yeah, well, it's not that easy. And then they want to take you on this 30-minute phone journey of why are you doing this? I don't understand. What if I threw this in? What if I threw that in? You know what I always did? I would just say, well, I'm moving. And I would find a place where they don't serve. And I would say, I'm moving to this county.
To Yemen.
I'm going to Yemen. Yeah, and they're like, oh, darn, we don't serve that area. Okay.
Well, good. Cancel me.
Because and then they'd say, well, what about the people moving into your house? Do you think they want cable? I was like, I don't know. How would I know that?
That's right.
So, well, apparently this happens with Sirius XM. I believe you even called them, right? And
I did.
You had a trial,
because,
right?
Yeah, the car, it came with the car, and after 3 months, they send letter after letter after letter saying, "Oh, you better up." And so I just waited for them to call me. They did, and I said, "Look, I have my 500 favorite songs on a little flash drive.
Right.
I don't need Sirius XM. It's okay to have, but I don't need to. I don't something to pay $15 a month for."
And they folded.
How about $4?
Yeah.
So,
we're going to finish this story up when we come back on Cruise Control. We'll be right back. Well, so now a judge has ruled that Sirius XM can't force you to go through that whole rigmarole if you want to cancel.
Congress actually has, signed a bill that you must be able to, as they're calling it, to click and cancel.
Yes.
Whatever you've got. And it's about time that happens.
And from what I have heard, I have not encountered this with Sirius XM, but it's not as bad as the cable companies or internet
Yeah,
providers. It's like, oh my God. So now I've got to lay out 45 minutes of my time and waste and talk. And it's like, here's the reason I don't want it, because I don't want it. Do I have to
yeah.
say anything more? They should just say, okay, no problem. Here. The other game they would play, though, is you would bring equipment back, and if they didn't give you a receipt, they'd send you a bill like 3 years later. Oh, you never brought your equipment back.
That happened to me.
Oh, God.
But fortunately, I had a receipt.
That I always thought was the reality show, to go in to I won't mention the company here, but every time I went in there, people were screaming at each other, and one guy threw his equipment down and said, "This company has ruined my life." I was like, wow, that's a big statement. But
It is
yeah, I the guy walks up, "Next, what's your problem?" I said, "Oh, I just need a new modem. This power supply is not working." Oh, okay. Yeah, here, I'll get you one.
Years ago, I had satellite TV.
Yeah, me
And
too.
it was fine. It was
Yeah.
fine, but it got to the point that the local Xfinity was just had for less money, actually had more features and all that stuff. So um, I called them and said I want to cancel, and they said, okay, we'll bring your box. Don't take the antenna down. But so I went to the office. And then it started the whole
Pitch. Here comes the pitch.
delay. Well, why are you leaving? What can we? And I was prepared as soon as the F&I manager said,
Yeah, that's what it's like.
well, why are you leaving? I said, well, because I have terminal cancer, and I'm going to be dead in about 3 months. So that's it. And the poor woman was just didn't know what to say. Oh my goodness!
Well, we could get you a deal for 3 months.
That's right. We can, we can give you all the free channels for 3. So,
Yeah.
but sometimes you have to. You just
Yeah.
have to.
I didn't go that track. I just said I was moving.
Oh yeah.
But it's like, then what? This was good. Then he goes, well, what's the address of the place you're moving to? And I said, well, I don't want to share that. Well, I don't understand. Why don't you want to share that? I said, why should I share that? I'm canceling my account. I'm not.
That's right.
You're not going to come down to my house, and pitch
Yes,
me
we
again.
are.
So I don't know. Post it if you've had this before with cable companies or anybody. Let us know, because man, it's just not good business. You feel worked over.
Well, and it's sleazy. I'll never come back to a company that does that.
Yeah. Here we go. We're coming in. I'll come in.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Fred Staab and Les Jackson. Les, we talked about this whole scenario where Sirius wouldn't let people just, basically get out done. They say, that's it, I'm done. So we just want to put a button on that and say the bill is called Click to Cancel. And a judge has ruled that SiriusXM can't force you to cancel over the phone and waste your time. You should be able to do it online some way. And I think that's it, because you don't want to feel worked over. You're just canceling. It's not a personal thing. It's just business.
No, it's sorry, I don't want it anymore, and I don't feel I have to tell you why I don't want it.
Well,
but anyway,
there's I'll just put a button on this, and then because we want to get to our Alfa Romeo story, but I canceled something yesterday, right? Because I'm getting a better deal with another company that will offer more features for just slightly more money, but a lot more features. So I say, okay, I'm going to cancel my account, and it will You click it, and like a little puppy comes up, and he's laying on his side looking sad, and he says, "We don't know why you're canceling." So this is another tactic they use on click to cancel. I was like, oh, well, you know what? That you're trying to manipulate me now.
Yes.
With a cute puppy.
And that's what it is.
Yeah. Well, we're going to manipulate our audience here and get them psyched up about an incredible car from the folks over at Alfa Romeo, the 33 Stradale, right? Stradale, which means road.
Stradale.
Okay, you say it better than I do, and Pisa is track, so Stradale and Pisa would be road and track in Italian, I would imagine. Whatever and. Right. What's and in Italian?
I don't know.
Okay. we'll leave it at that. Yeah. But incredible car. They're doing some thrashing on this. And, I don't know if this is available in the U.S., is it?
I don't think so.
But, what a car. And I'm sure the testing, as they talk about, is they call it dynamic testing at the Nardo circuit. Nardo's Technical Center is the fastest automotive circular track in the world, and they're going in with an intense session of dynamic tests with the prototype 00 on the legendary Nardo ring. Sounds fun. Yeah. Sounds like a fun day at work, don't you think?
There are worse jobs. Your job today is to take the car up to 210 miles an hour and hold it there.
Yes. And then report back.
Yeah.
The car...
Come back for lunch.
Yes, that's right. The car offers 2 drive modes. They can be activated from switches on the center tunnel, Strada, or road, and Pista on track. The former, engaged when the car is started, ensures comfort and driving pleasure, smooth power delivery, usual pedal sensitivity, soft suspension, fluid transmission, and active exhaust valves open only above 4,000 RPM. In the track mode, this is their writing, the driver chooses an adrenaline-fueled drive. The power is at its peak. The pedals are even more responsive. Suspension is rigid. That's a good term.
Rigid. Well,
and those exhaust valves
when you're on a banked oval going 200, you don't have any suspension.
It's flattened down.
The forces have flattened the suspension right out.
Twin turbo V6 features Les, I got to read this. This is PR talk. An authentic mechanical symphony that wraps around the passenger's compartment and conveys unique emotions while accelerating. You can't make this stuff up. You really can't. Yeah. So the car brakes from 62 to 0 in under 100 feet. Hold on to your fillings. And that's made possible by built-in Alfa Romeo brake-by-wire braking systems. So, brake-by-wire means what? No brake lines, right?
No. Well, the pedal is not connected to a mechanical master cylinder.
Okay, but it's still hydraulic pressure.
Oh, yeah, it's still hydraulic. It's still like ABS, which is, a pump.
Yeah.
That you're activating. So...
Carbon ceramic brakes so they don't fade.
Oh, yeah.
All the good stuff. I don't think we have pricing on this vehicle since it's just a prototype yet.
Whatever it is, we can't afford it.
What do you think of the maroon and the gold wheels? I kind of like that look.
I love the maroon. I'm not very thrilled about the gold wheels.
Okay.
I would like black wheels, maybe.
Okay. Interesting car. Another brand that's struggling in the U.S. I looked back at some of their vehicles that they've made in the past that we never got here that are quite attractive. will this come to the U.S.? It'll be interesting to see. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure as far as what Alfa's future is. And we
I don't know.
started this episode talking about Nissan and Volkswagen. We're going to talk about that next hour. Volkswagen is in trouble in many ways, and it's a weird time in the auto industry, isn't it?
Yeah, they're this whole industry is kind of an up and down thing, but yeah, people are struggling. They've probably invested, or they have invested in kind of the wrong products at the wrong time, and they're getting themselves out of it.
Do you
So
think? Do you think at some point the SUV will go away? Has it already started to, with
I,
crossovers, sort
well,
of bridging the gap?
maybe maybe it's showing some signs that it's lost its luster. I hope so. I think most SUVs are a waste of money and technology, but that's
Yeah,
just my opinion.
yeah. Do you think it will ever? I don't know. I mean, and this obviously differs for our audience that are all over the place, but I see many people in vehicles, and it's not for me to judge, but I'll judge anyway, that are way too big for them, that they
Right.
can't handle, and really do they need that giant thing and try to park it? It's like I say, it's like
That's
watching
right.
someone park a cruise ship,
And they have self-parking, most of these things, but they don't trust it.
What is it?
So
Four people with flags and those lighted flashlights.
that's yeah. I know people who are driving vehicles too big for them, and
Yeah, yeah. It,
yeah,
it's I don't know. We'll see. We'll definitely see. I just also am astounded at the money people are spending on vehicles, and it's just
yeah.
out of this world. And
Uh, that
there's
I don't believe is sustainable. I really don't.
no, and there's a lot of other vehicles that are a lot less than that are 10, 15,000 below the average
Yeah.
price and are good vehicles, and the good thing is even the smaller vehicles today have most of the features of the large
Have all
ones.
the
So,
stuff you want.
yeah. Hey, we appreciate you listening to Cruise Control. Time for me to say I'm Fred Staab.
I'm Les Jackson.
We are going to see you down the road.